Hey, what up, though? It's a middle-aged muscle man musician or Donald Pump, whatever you want to call me. Right now, hit subscribe. I have a lot of guys that'll comment on one video and say, hey, I didn't catch that video on Tonga Ali. I didn't catch the update. I didn't catch this or that. That's because they didn't subscribe and have me pop up in their feed. I got a lot of good stuff going. I got the original Tonga Ali video, which is up in the tens of thousands of fucking views, but I've got a part 2 that starts a weekly or bi-weekly review a particular company's Tonga Ali product who sent it to me to review. Also, testosterone videos coming soon. I got a training split video on here, a gyno video, diet hacks, several things. So leave me a comment. Let's hear about your transformations. You know, you can even link and I'll come subscribe, and hopefully my viewers will as well. I want to hear other people's results and see if they're kind of like mine, or you know, maybe we can get some tips from each other. The first thing I wanted to get into in my 1 year recap here, that's exactly what this is. It's been a year in my transformation, is the measurements and what to expect in measurement differences if you stick to a high protein, low calorie diet. You lose X amount of weight, like what can you expect? First thing to remember is that I'm not one of these big monster guys on YouTube or whatever. It's just about my transformation. And you'll see pictures throughout this video that show you that transformation. And my goal is to assist guys, particularly that are between the ages of 27 and whatever, 50 or so, in building the physiques that they want to. But as far as measurements go, one thing I noticed that jumped out at me, despite keeping kind of the same diet, the same training regimen, and obviously getting better with technique and tweaking things, is that you're going to get probably the same amount of results in the last 9 months of a year as you get in the first 90 days. Now, that sounds crazy, but for me, that's exactly what happened. You know, for instance, as far as the waist, it's even more dramatic than that. I was at a 40-inch waist when I started. 90 days in, I was at 35. And then in the next 9 months, I only lost 2 more inches. There's context with that as far as realistic caloric intake and, you know, how your genetics are set up. Your waist can only get so small, you know, things of that nature. But one thing that these measurements teach you is where you carry your fat. So, for instance, if you're unhappy with one body part, like let's say you carry a lot of fat in your shoulders, which I did, and I'll give you those numbers in a minute, and you're kind of looking at yourself saying, man, I look great everywhere else, but my shoulders, I just can't get the definition I want. Well, even though you may not want to, you're going to have to diet down more to kind of, you're going to get your body fat down maybe what you would think is too low everywhere else just to get those proportionate. Then you start building the muscle. You know, like on my delts, I went from 54 inches to 47 in a year. Meanwhile, they look bigger. They're more presentable, obviously. You know, the abdominal region, I went from a 44.5-inch down to a 33.5. And basically what that's telling you is your fat that's around your organs and whatnot is going to decrease substantially and contribute to positive health effects down the road. You know, one thing that you'll notice from all of this is there's body parts that you may think, well, wait a minute, I have 16-inch arms. I don't know if I can deal with having 14-inch arms. Trust me, you can. The 14 is going to look a lot better than the 16. You know, but when you come into it, you're like, oh, I want to pump my arms up. I want bigger biceps and whatnot. And it's kind of like, well, you know, I had 16-inch biceps at the beginning of this. I'm at 14.5 inches now. So you just got to get some of those numbers out of your head that you've heard. 16 is a great number, 18 or 20 is superhuman. I got to have that. It's like, yeah, well, you got to dwindle them down to like 14 in order to build them up. That's what this is all about. You know, I was telling my fiance a couple days ago that when I start training people again, they're not going to like to hear, especially men, they're not going to like to hear like, dude, before you can build muscle that anyone's going to notice, you're going to have to get small for a long time before you start getting big. And, you know, there's some photos, I'll try and insert it here, but photos are going to pop up here and there throughout this video. You'll notice that back in, I think it was September, I weighed 182. And I looked pretty much like a skinny guy until I flexed. Now I'm 172 and look way bigger. So you get to a point where, okay, you've dieted down, you got it down to how many calories you need. Now you can just, you know, have the right protein amount. You're not walking around hungry. You can go harder in the gym. You can really start building that muscle. you know, my body fat percentage, I used a Renfo scale, which I'll get into in another part of this video. They're great. But say like the body fat percentage that it scans is clearly not accurate. You know, it had me at 20% when I started, 17% 90 days in, 14% 180 days in, and 13% at 365 days in. I don't think I'm at 13%. I'm probably like 16, 17, 18. As far as the weight loss goes, I have another video that's about losing weight too quickly. I went from 235 to 207 in the first 90 days. That's far too high of a rate of weight loss. If you go into it really hard like me and you're almost overly dedicated and you really want to shed that weight, you know, you can lose almost 30 pounds in 90 days, but then kind of expect things to even out and you're going to get to, you know, 25 more pounds in the next 3 months. Like, okay, that's great. But now, 6 months, I've only lost 10 pounds. But like I said, I'm gaining muscles, so things balance out. BMI, even though that's kind of BS, doesn't mean a whole lot, but it is something to roughly go by for health purposes. You know, I started out at a 33 and I got down to a 24. While we're on the topic of expectation, I made some notes about expectations to have as far as if you go into a full-on training program, starting from being very much out of shape, overweight, or just, you know, skinny fat, whatever the case may be. One thing to expect is you're going to see new flaws. You're going to notice that you're underdeveloped in one place or another, things like that that you weren't paying attention to before, and it's probably going to screw with your head a little bit. You may end up overtraining, over-dieting, things like that as a result. Just know that that's going to happen. And just like we talk about with diets, you need to simply expect yourself to make this an enjoyable lifestyle. You need to get it in your mind that this isn't temporary. Just like with yo-yo diets, we don't want to yo-yo train. We don't want to go on again, off again because it's hard to get into the gym, or we're hating it, or we're hating our splits, or whatever the case is that's got you feeling negative about the whole process. You need to make it enjoyable. If that means that you lose less weight over time, you know, or if it means that it takes you a little longer to build muscle, make it something you look forward to doing. A measurement expectation. A realistic, great change would be 3.5 inches in a year. You know, the numbers I just gave you are crazy, but honestly, just like the video I have about weight loss tells you, I regret that I lost the weight so quickly. And that's the honest to God truth. You don't want the stretch marks and the weakness and the possibility of doing a yo-yo thing. 3.5 inches in a year is great. I mean, if you're at 40 inches, you get yourself down to, you know, 36 and a half, you're damn near fitting 34 jeans, because like I'm at a 33 inch waist right now and 32s are almost falling off. Expect that your quads are going to be smaller. Trust me, they'll look better, they'll look bigger. And once again, you'll learn where you carry fat at. You may say, oh my God, I'm down 4 inches here. It's just like, no, you had a lot of fat carried there. You look better, you have more strength, all of those things. It's just the number that you're measuring doesn't matter, except for a guideline to kind of know what parts of your body you want to pay certain types of attention to. Get tighter clothes. That's a tip as far as expectations go. You can screw your expectations up if you study your naked body. Most importantly, if you care about how you look, and you want to have that kind of physique that people turn their heads and look at, it's about how you look in clothes. Get the right clothes. You'll be able to, even for the gym, you'll be able to look into the mirror and say, okay, yeah, I'm liking what I'm seeing. You know, but if you overstudy yourself naked, your mind is going to compare you to, you know, pro bodybuilders you've seen. The only guys I've ever seen, you know, with essentially almost no clothes on are these guys, and oh my God, I look like crap next to them. Well, they're professionals who basically make themselves miserable in order to compete and win something. That's not your goal. Who cares? You want to look at your own before and after pictures, if anything, as far as, you know, declothed. Your weight's going to fluctuate. That's an expectation to have. Your weight fluctuates a lot. You know, I can weigh myself in the morning, you know, and I'm feeling kind of dehydrated, whatever, and I'm weighing, you know, 171 pounds. At the end of the day, I can be 179. And even if you do it every day at the same time, you can expect major fluctuation at times. because your body could be digesting differently that day or whatever. Look at it over a period of time. Don't look at it, you know, from Monday to Wednesday and say, oh my God, I'm doing something wrong. It's probably not the case. And as far as the weight loss goes, the basal rate, the little calculators online are fucking wrong 99% of the time, I guess. The Renfo scale that I mentioned that's fucking great to monitor a lot of things is likely going to be wrong as far as when it tells you how many calories you need. What you need to do is like conduct your own self-study. Start with like 12 times your body weight. So, you know, if you're 200 pounds, start with 2,400 a day. Spend a few weeks, you know, keep track of how many calories you burn roughly. Definitely keep track of what you eat. And remember that, you know, between 2,500 and 3,000 calories in a week's time in 7 days is going to burn a pound. You'll be able to kind of reverse engineer that total. You'll be able to say, oh, I lost 2 pounds. That means that I, you know, burned off an additional 5,500 calories. As I said in my weight loss video, you only want to lose 0.5% to 1% at the absolute most of body weight weekly. In terms of cardio, especially at the beginning, I highly suggest doing the uphill walking. You're going to burn a ton of fat. It's going to be the easiest way to do so. You want to jog for your lungs and heart, but I would highly suggest you do the uphill walking. I do it at like a speed walk pace now, but even start out slow. Now that when it calculates the calories on the treadmill and whatnot, that's probably, I would guess, about 30% off. But still, you'll see it's at a much higher rate than it is jogging slowly on a flat surface, or, you know, and it feels less taxing than, say, the elliptical machine or anything else. As I kind of mentioned a few minutes ago, your weight loss proportions are up to your genes. I learned that I have to lose a ton of weight to get rid of like the whole gyno thing. I have to get smaller in places I don't want to get smaller in order to get to that base where my body fat's at the percentage I want it. I could start building my chest, everything will look good. So just pay attention to those proportions and just kind of make a mental note of it and realize that certain things aren't going to be perfect for you. You got to find ways to work around it, be a little more patient. Try food substitutes, not eliminations. For example, you know, you like soda, go with a zero sugar soda, find the one that tastes the best, you know, those sorts of things. Don't completely eliminate carbs. That's silly. You know, it can be something as small as, you know, you eat burgers at home, say, you need to cut some calories. Eat one half of the bun or no bun at all. You know, if it's a good burger, put that thing in a plate like I do, because I can't do wheat. And I don't always have the really expensive gluten-free fucking bun, so I go all out and take a burger patty and add egg whites to it, chili sauce on it, and all this stuff, and like a little bit of cheese. You know, go wild with other things. Substitute certain parts of it. Don't just cut out things because they're going to be things you really like that you're cutting out. And now all of a sudden, we're back to the yo-yo thing. A good thing to expect as far as weight loss goes, you're going to get less back pain and stuff like that. You will have less leverage, but your strength will catch up, you know, according to your body weight pound. I mean, that's the way I always calculate. Am I getting stronger or not? I do it based on my body weight. Here's a quick tip that I learned. Put protein powder in coffee. You're not always going to want to drink a protein shake. Your protein's probably almost never going to be where you want it to be unless you do some supplementation. Putting that scoop of vanilla protein powder in your coffee or a scoop of chocolate, it truly tastes like you're adding those, you know, the good tasting little vanilla creams and stuff. But you're getting the protein, and the coffee has next to no calories and stuff like that, and it's kind of filling. And obviously it speeds you up a little bit to where you don't want to eat. So that's just something I learned over the course of a year, little tweaks. Cut down on bread. I had to because of the gluten thing, the celiacs, but cut down on bread. It's a lot of calories. You know, you look at like a pepperoni roll at a gas station. You need something quick to eat or whatever. And your mind says, oh, the cheese and the pepperoni, it's fattening and stuff like that. No, it's the fucking bread. You know, if it says it has 600 calories, like 400 of that is the bread. Cut down on the bread a bit. Don't do fried food. Do anything but. The caloric count is ridiculous in most fried foods. And eat a Reese's a day. That's a video I'm going to make about weight loss. Is I'm going to say Reese's a day keeps the fat away or something like that. And what I mean by that is whatever little junk food is your favorite, if you kind of keep your calorie count low throughout the day, it's almost like you reward yourself every single day. Then you don't need a cheat day. I get to have one junk food a day is what I give myself. As far as training goes in the last year, and I basically knew this, but 5 out of 7 days or 6 out of 8 days is best. Tut is everything. Time under tension is everything. The results that I've had, and I've compared, I've compared month over month and stuff like that. Even a moderate time under tension, a pretty good one, compared to a long time under tension, makes a world of difference. Do less sets. Whatever you got to do to keep that time of your set, 40 or more seconds. And it's hard. I get it. But, put your energy and strength into that. I've learned that my body likes muscle confusion of all types. I mean, I'm talking set numbers, exercises, cardio before or after, some people are like that. There's a lot of that data out there that says muscle confusion doesn't work. I don't know. I see, I feel and see a big difference when I change things up. Obviously, keep your baseline exercises and all of that, but maybe mix in a different one. I got a video on splits that kind of talks about that a bit. For me, I learned that my set ranges that are ideal is like delts are 12 to 14. I do PT for my delts too. My back is like 14 to 16. My back is kind of my best muscle group. So I don't even quite need that many, but you should be doing a lot more for your back than say you do for your pecs. My pecs are like 12 to 14 sets a week. For most people, I'd say if that were the case, then to do back closer to 20. My tris only 10 to 14. My biceps 12 to 14. I have smaller biceps, so that's why I'm doing kind of a bigger amount of them. You may not need 12 to 14 sets. My forearms, I have to do 6 to 10 sets a week. You may not need any. It's just I have naturally weak forearms. I have long arms that contributes to it. Abs 10 to 14. Again, some guys don't have to train abs. But if you have a body type like I started out with, maybe you should, think of these numbers. Legs 16 to 18. I should be doing more. It sounds like I should be doing more sets, but I'm going really high on reps because that's what my legs respond to. Split up your cardio, man. That's what I do. I do around 90 minutes a week right now. Probably should be higher. But I'll do like, say, 6 minutes at the beginning of the workout just to warm up, get the blood into the muscles. I'll do 12 at the end. It's more vigorous. That sort of thing. You split it up, and mentally it doesn't sound like such an undertaking, I learned that I need to stick to the main exercises, but introduce a new one every couple of training days. You got to do that more in your 2 to 5 month period to get your body used to new movements. You can't just throw it in later, at the times when you're trying to get over plateaus, like you don't have the right form or anything like that. You don't want to do it too soon either. It makes things more complicated. So I say give it 2 to 5 months. That period should be kind of where you're throwing in different exercises and stuff that's different from the norm. I've learned that, I have serious shoulder injuries. I basically cut out shoulder presses and overhead presses and Arnold presses. I've learned that they're not needed. My shoulders are developing just fine, maybe at a better rate without those exercises. Deadlifts aren't needed that much. A lot of people talk about how you can get really hurt doing them and stuff like that. For me, it's not like a fear of getting hurt. I actually really like doing deadlifts, and I know how to do them safely. It's just, I talked about in the splits video that it's hard to work stuff in that's a compound movement when you're doing like really strategic splits. I do different stuff for my back specifically, and my hamstrings. I still do deadlifts, but I'm just saying they're not, everyone thinks they have to do it fucking constantly, and you really don't. Doing no squats is okay. I can't do squats. I can't put my fucking arms behind my shoulders like that most of the time. I don't feel proper development when I do front squats, so I'm doing a ton of leg presses and stuff like that. I'll occasionally mix lunges in, and but mostly different types of leg presses. I'm lucky there's different ones at my gym, and I'm doing leg curls and leg extensions and all this other stuff. But I don't feel like you absolutely have to do squats. Journaling is huge. I wouldn't train without it. I simply wouldn't. I track everything. And it's not just because I like to, and not just it's a mental thing, but I feel like I would have probably half the results without it. I mean, I base what I'm doing next on it. I get my motivation from it. I'm sure most of you guys do, but I go really hard with it. I mean, at the end of a week, I'm taking all these little extra notes I made on each day, and I'm paying attention to how my body felt and what I see improving, and I'm making notes for the next week. If one exercise I have a really hard time doing time under tension, and I make a note of that, I'm kind of working next week around either trying to drop the weight and do time under tension on the exercise, or kind of replacing that exercise, because not doing the tut, it makes the exercise almost pointless. I feel like cables and flies are just as important as presses, especially for like the distribution of development, like say for upper pecs, stuff like that. I feel like, and obviously you're getting more, you're getting a very equal amount of eccentric and concentric, say when you're doing lateral raises and stuff like that. And they also force you to have good form for the most part. So especially if you're a beginner, consider doing a lot of cables and doing some machines like the hammer strength machines. Your splits can be unconventional. Get your sets number in, create a program weekly with the notes. Unconventional means you can kind of mix the exercises up. I mean, you could do stuff like go from a leg press to a curl, stuff like that. It keeps it interesting. As long as your intensity's there, and as long as your form is there and your time under tension, you're going to have the results that you want. Who cares that it's an unconventional? You got to get the rest, obviously. But who cares if it's an unconventional split? Range of motion is paramount. Know yours. They do vary. I've found that by having the long arms for bicep development, I have to do certain things where I'm specifically only here, or in certain exercises I have to go extra long with the movement, things like that. Some people truly benefit from not bringing presses completely to their chest, which I'm going to make a video about that in particular because it's most people. But you may benefit most coming here just because of how your particular anatomy is made up. You may need to, say you're using a hammer strength machine, you may need to kind of position yourself away from where their little diagram shows you or tells you to put it, middle of the chest. It's like, I'm not getting the right lat pull. Maybe I need to lower myself, that sort of thing. Just listen to your body, get that mind-muscle connection. Have a partner, if possible, with the same goals as you. That is fucking huge, but I'm not going to talk about that too much because I don't have one right now. But trust me, it is better. Loosen your muscles and fill them with blood prior. In other words, do a little bit of cardio. Do just a little bit of stretching to get yourself, mobile. And do warm-up sets. I hate them. I'm on a time crunch a lot of times. I hate doing it. But you got to do it. And don't do like a million little reps either like guys do. I do the full range of motion with a bit of, the time under tension. So I'm really trying to fill them up with blood so I can go really hard in the next sets. If you feel like you don't have time to do the warm-up sets, you need to shave a set off of the whole block of sets. Say you got 4 for a leg press. Well, you do 3. Trust me, you'll have better results in individual sets. Do your stretching after your workout. I stretch the entire body afterwards, but do it after. I mean, you can do it after the body part too. If I go, really hard on, because I got tendon issues, if I go really hard on my forearms, I might do really extensive stretches right after that before I go into whatever other body part. But that's just the way that I would do things. Try to go to the gym, obviously, when it's kind of dead, or have backup exercises. You put a lot of time into building up your program for the week, and you can't get on the fucking cables. You need to have a backup that's as good. I'll use the pec deck or something if I had, flies in mind, and I'm pumped up, I'm ready to go, but I'm fucking waiting. You don't need that dead time. Always have a backup exercise for everything that is in high demand anyway. Train in really good proportion with very small tweaks, whether it's like, do a couple extra reps on my left arm. Your back is weaker than other parts of your body, so, you add a little more there, but try to have good proportion. Have your muscles working equally together. On your most tired days, show up. And I know that sounds like cliche as hell, but me personally, I've made the notes in the journal, and I see that for some reason, on those days when I'm the most tired, once I get in there, it ends up being the best training day I've had, that week. Pay attention to mobility. Um, I'm still learning to make myself more mobile as it is. I'm kind of stiff in the gym and stuff like that. There's certain little stretches you can do. I learned some from Johnny Shreve, and different aerobic movements and stuff like that you can do separately from your workout to kind of keep yourself more limber. Is that the word? Yeah. You don't want to feel like just a big meathead who can't move around and can't use the muscles he's got. One thing I'm not going to go into detail about, but doing your internal and external rotations, whether you're doing them for just plain old muscle growth or to help heal a rotator cuff or something like that, they help gyno. I mean, think about it. When you're in this position and you're bringing it here, you feel your chest, particularly the top of the clavicle head here that lifts your entire chest up. You feel that there, and same thing here. So that's something to think about. Maybe work your shoulders and chest together on the same day, just so you're getting the proper amount of rest, because you'll get a full workout on your chest after incorporating some rotations. As far as injuries go, I've tried a lot of different supplements and stuff like that to help with my joint issues and whatnot. I also have certain regimens that I do. I take glucosamine. It does seem to help. I take kratom for pain killing purposes. Particularly, I take the red mangda, I believe it's called, red mangda. That's the one that has the pain killing properties, and I'm telling you, it cuts down on inflammation a lot. It's great. It keeps you from having to be on pharmaceuticals. One thing I'd tell you for injuries is do very controlled but powerful movements. I do opt for a machine in a lot of instances, but I make it a very powerful exercise. I get that full pump, that aggression, but yet the movement's very controlled. You got to start low weight when you have injuries. You'll get the same results if you make the set just as hard. I mean, if you're doing something that's 150 pounds usually for 30 seconds, try 100 and do it for 60. You'll get the same results. I do stretch a bit between sets, just not a full out stretch because that can actually cause injury, but just enough to get myself mobile, get the blood pumping like I talked about. Warm up sets, obviously. CBD is great. I use CBD lotion on my shoulder. Feels fantastic. The only thing I tell you is to be careful, because sometimes the way it relaxes it puts it in a position where you can actually hurt it more. Kind of like taking a bunch of painkillers or something. You feel a lot better, so you don't even notice it, but you're moving around a lot more, and then when it wears off, you're in pain. So in other words, just kind of relax your body when you take it. Don't sit there and say like, oh, all of a sudden I feel great. You got to get used to it. You got to gauge it. Your sleep position is huge. That's something that I really need help with. I mean, obviously I kind of read up on it and everything like that, and I know what's best for my injuries, but I just can't manage to get myself to stay in those positions. Be very careful with your tendons. Don't go too heavy on certain exercises. You know which ones strain your tendons. You can feel it. And when you stretch, concentrate on stretching tendons, not so much muscles. There's a million good sources, and you can kind of tell which ones are credible when you look it up as far as the tendon stretching. I've used BPC 157 to help heal tendons and ligaments, and I was noticing a lot of change, a lot of improvement. I was feeling a lot better. I was needing, if I didn't take my supplementation or the kratom or any of that, I was noticing that it was healing. So if I could recommend one thing, it would be that. It's just my money's low right now, so I haven't bought the BPC. It's not crazy expensive, but the other thing is the injections are what really works. I hate needles, so taking them orally, you got to take a lot more than, like a month's worth will last you like a week and a half or something like that, because when you take them orally, you need a higher number of milligrams from what I've noticed and what I've read. So there's that. I'm not telling anybody to do anything, but I'm saying if I had to recommend something for injury and you're not seeing a doctor and stuff like that. I mean, I brought up the peptide BPC 157 to 2 different doctors, and they were like, dude, if it works, do it. Because all we can do is a surgery, which you don't want, which, you know, may not even help at this stage. It's going to ruin your life because you're not going to be able to work and stuff like that. You know, keep doing the PT and whatever it is. The other thing is that you're doing is helping. Keep doing it because there's no studies to say it's bad. As far as like other supplementation, everybody's diet gets restricted. And when you start going on like a high protein diet, you know, you're eating a lot of protein bars and drinking a lot of protein shakes, you're missing out on a lot of other vitamins. You're doing the right thing, but you need to get some of those other vitamins. That's what supplementation is all about. Get a good multivitamin. Do a little bit of research on which ones, you know, which brands are the most bioavailable. Testosterone is a positive thing. I'll have a separate video for that. I've tried MK677. That one stay away from until you watch videos from others or my video comes out. Magnesium is a very important supplement. Definitely stock up on that. Make sure it's magnesium sulfate. 8 out of 10 times, anything in the store is going to be, I believe it's magnesium hydrochloride or something like that. Don't get that one. It doesn't work right. It's not bioavailable enough for something like that. Tangat Ali, great thing. Brand matters again. Watch the reviews that I have on this channel. Obviously, I do protein. I do creatine, extremely important. Reasonably inexpensive, but always sold out all of a sudden. There's like a fucking shortage on creatine. People must have thought it cured COVID or something, but definitely creatine is very important. Caffeine, I do a lot of, but I'm trying to cut down on a bit. Pre-workout for focus, because I take in so much caffeine throughout the day. I take the Gorilla Mind one it's mainly just for mental focus and pump. I take a fiber supplement because I don't eat fucking bread, you know. I don't get enough fiber in my diet, and without the fiber, your protein doesn't break down and work properly, so you may need a fiber supplement. And the fish oil. Fish oil is important. You need a lot of it. You know, watch Jerry Brainham, I think his name is. Watch his video that's about the 3 supplements that he would take if you're only allowed 3. And fish oil is extremely important for overall health and for bodybuilding purposes. He talks about the dosage and stuff like that. It's kind of a lot, but you know, it's not really expensive stuff, so it's totally worth it for your health in the long run. Other than that, just off the head, like I learned more patience. I've always been an impatient person, but I decided I'm going to go about this the right way this time. You know, I go into it in a meticulous fashion. Sometimes when you go in there just kind of rah-rah and you're kind of just doing it off the cuff and stuff like that, you end up hurting yourself, or you end up not getting the results that you need to get, and you lose your motivation because of that. You want to have control of the whole situation. You want to journal it. You want to do your research. You want to learn new exercises. Keep it interesting. I've definitely gained some patience from it because the whole expectation thing I talked about, you're not going to want to keep working out if you think, hey, I got good genes, you know, in 90 days I'll look great. And then after 120 days, you still look kind of crappy compared to what you saw in your mind, what you thought you could achieve. You're not going to work out anymore. You're not going to take it as seriously. If you have to, rewind and listen to what I said as far as what would be good expectations as far as measurements and stuff like that. And just always remember that you're basing all of this on where you were at before. Realistically, unless somebody's enhanced, I mean, you're not going to gain 10, 15 pounds of muscle in a year. You know, but what you should know is that a pound or 2 actually looks pretty damn good when it's paired with weight loss, fat loss. So just get the weird numbers out of your head that have been beat in by the wrong sources. I really enjoy the fact that I can get on here, give you guys tips, talk about my experiences. You can kind of, as a community, give me yours and stuff like that. I have learned that men, middle-aged men, can gain muscle at a pretty damn high rate, can do everything just as good as the younger guys. It just may take a little more brain power. It's not necessarily more time in the gym or, you know, more weight piled on or any of that kind of stuff, or more drastic dieting or nothing like that, or mass amounts of protein or some weird shit like that, or, oh, you have to get, you know, PEDs. No, that's not the case. You just have to do things in a smart way. And another thing to remember is if they're natural, these great results you're seeing from young guys, they got that in a stupid way, more than likely. Not stupid, ignorant, like maybe not that educated, maybe don't have the right mind muscle connection, don't have the experience as far as with their own body to reflect on. You do. So you putting, 200 IQ points into this can match the results they get from putting 80 IQ points, if that makes sense. Use your mind more. Get information from different sources, try things out, and record how they work for you. Everything's not going to be the same for everyone, but I hope I provided like some baselines and some ideas for you guys. But I'm happy, in 1 year, I've lost around 70 pounds. I actually feel good taking my shirt off at the beach and stuff like that. I kind of see the progression that I personally get, so I know what to expect in 3 months when it's really beach time, that sort of thing. I feel more energetic, and I feel like I'm a positive influence for some of the people around me. They see, okay, this guy doesn't do drugs. He's cut a lot of these things that I think are fun out of his life, but he's happier now. It's like I'm just straight up healthier. I have more energy. I feel better about myself. I have a kind of an addiction to the gym, but it's a positive addiction because I approach it in an intelligent way, so it can't really hurt me, and it's fun. It's fun to get that tension out of you. It's fun to see yourself transforming and to know that on the weekend when you don't have no money to spend, you and your woman could just, go and run up the sand dunes or some shit like that. You know what I mean? Like it's great to feel good in your own body. Like and to know that you're going to have more healthy years to live later. Those sorts of things are just like, wow, okay. I'm actually going to live a longer life. I'm going to have more energy to play with my kids and stuff like that. I'm going to heal better. But other than that, I guess I'll get from in front of the camera now. I got some things I got to do. Actually, I got to go stock up on food, and I have to make a list to make sure I get the right shit. I've got the second Tonga Ali review dropping here in a day or two. Definitely go watch the one on Akurali, the updated one that I have now. I think you'll like what you hear with that one. Other than that, on that note, I say peace.